Starbase 80s Disco Nights is brought to you by spoilers. Yeah, we don't have a sponsor, but we got spoilers. Oh boy, we're going to be talking a whole bunch about a show that you might not have seen yet. Or specifically, we were talking about Lagrange Point. Did I get that right? I'm going strictly off of memory here, and it's not a great memory. And that is from Star Trek Discovery, Season 5. This, I believe, is technically Episode 8. And yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about things that are revealed in this show. So if you haven't seen the show yet, you might want to go watch it. And then maybe join us, because we would love that. We always love it when you're here with us. And that is it. We should get the show started. Groovy people, thanks for joining us here at Starbase 80's Disco Nights. I am John Weber, Captain John, if you're nasty, and my co-host for this show, a man who's never nasty, even when he tries to be. Actually, the things he writes can be really disturbing. I read a story of his yesterday, and oh my God, it was so disturbing. But we love him because the dark genius that is Joe Townsell is wrapped in this very nice man right here. Joe Townsell, Commander Joe, thank you for joining us once again on the deck.
Well, thank you, Captain John, for having me, and for, as always, your kind words. And yes, there is a disturbing imagination beneath this calm, cute exterior. But you know what? I make it all jibe. Now, John, before we go any further, and I was going to send you a behind the scenes message, but we share our foibles with our friends. That's what makes it fun.
Yes.
And if it's not practical to do so, we're not going to worry about it. But we do have the Rangers background happening right now.
I just noticed that. Right after he introduced you, I went, wait, that says Retro Rangers. Hang on. Chew!
Oh my goodness, that's a trick.
I can't believe that worked. Luckily, StreamYard makes that very easy to correct. So
good.
Thanks once again to StreamYard.com. Here we go. Hey, go away. Okay.
And if Stevie's there, I'm sure that she'll be telling us all about it here in a moment. But
let's take a look. Oh, even better. It's our good friend Craig Robinson. Hello, Craig.
Oh, hello, Craig. And he says he loves the episode poster, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. We have a lot of fun putting those together.
You do such brilliant work. I was going to actually show it, but I don't have it loaded up. I do have next week's. Do you want to
do that now? Preview? Why not?
Let's do a sneak preview.
Yeah.
This is next week's poster for the final episode ever of Star Trek Discovery. And what did I do? Where are you? Where are you? Oh, I guess I got to do it from here. Hang on.
There we go. Well, I mean, as the theme suggests, and as John confirms, next week, we're kind of teasing it before we get into this week's, but it is going to be the final episode of Star Trek Discovery, season and series. So what the heck? It is the last dance, the last chance for disco next week.
And Star Trek Discovery, Curse of the Black Holes. That is a good teaser for today's episode.
It is.
And it's so funny, too, because I actually saw a little news flash just a couple hours ago. I was kind of puttering around, and it said that scientists have recently discovered two black holes that are so close to each other, they're starting to absorb each other.
Oh, my.
And that's going on like in real life. That's not happening in Star Trek land. That's happening in boring old real land. So, yeah, it's a thing.
So it's going to be one of those deals they basically swallow each other up and they expand out and eventually the whole universe just falls into a hole?
This is one of the things they're trying to find out. They're actually really excited that they found it because they've never studied it firsthand
Wow.
live before. But yeah, it could actually be one of these in 14 million years. This will be a problem. There's so many bizarre things in astronomy. I've finally gotten to the age where I can not be a little child and be like, I want to see spaceships and ray guns. That's all I want to see. Like now I can actually be impressed by astronomy. I'm a man now, is what I'm saying. I'm a grown up.
We have outgrown childish things. We now embrace not so childish things like Star Trek.
Like Star Trek. Let's talk about this episode, Lagrange Point. It is the penultimate episode, if you are totally into the word penultimate, which I
And we
always
are.
Yes, something we always enjoy, the word penultimate. And the best way for us to discuss this, I say this and I'm not ready. Okay. The best way for us to discuss this is if we do the beats.
We got him.
We go through the beats of every plot of every episode. That's Joe Townsend's job. I'm sorry, Joe. What were you going to say, sir?
No, I just said we got the beat. That's always.
We got the beats. So, Mr. Townsend, tell us what happened in this episode of Star Trek Discovery called Lagrange Point.
Well, I mean, I have to perform my rendition of the title, so here it goes. Home, home on Lagrange, or something like that.
If you like terrible dad jokes, you've come to the right show.
Oh, believe me, there are puns aplenty.
Nice. I love them, so I'm just going to sit back and relax.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Well, listen. What at the very top of the show? What can I say? Saru is back finally.
Oh, yeah.
The Kelpian ambassador returns to HQ, alien posies in hand, for his lovely Vulcan bride-to-be, Tarina. Very nice.
Yeah, very sweet.
Now, short round, he shouts, "No time for love, Dr. Jones." Actually, Saru and Tarina's romantic reunion is put on hold so they can attend the latest crisis powwow. For the benefit of those who missed the doings of last week's episode, or even this week's Previously on Discovery recap, Federation Prez Relak rings the motley crew up to speed. So among her bullet points, Maul killed Ruin with his own Klingon paint stick knockoff. I'm so glad I got to use that pun one more time.
Nice.
Primac Hall's fleet is now en route to repossess the Dreadnought, now commanded by a perky, spunky, blondie human person. Now, as a result, if the other Breen find out about the progenitor tech, let's just say it'll be a major bummer. So, meanwhile, back on Disco, Reno's miracle workers continue to make repairs. Working around the clock, get Disco right again. Well, will the spore drive get us to where X marks the spot? Close, but no cigar, Captain. Well, to be close enough, we can't allow Maul and her Breeny babies to get there first.
The Breeny babies.
The Breeny babies. Won't they make little cute little dolls? They should make those.
The Breeny babies. Something that we could start selling on Etsy, I think. Maybe.
I think so. I mean, they had like the little tie heart thing attached to them.
I like it a lot.
No, we can't let those Breeny babies get there first. So black alert. And hold on, gang, it's going to be yet another bumpy ride. And boy, a bumpy ride, that is the understatement of the 32nd century. Taking a cue from the 1979 Disney flick, Disco finds itself perched at the edge of a black hole. No, wait, scratch that. There are two black holes because this used to be a binary star system. And hey, John, do you remember the second Disco episode ever titled Battle of the Binary Stars?
Yes.
Nice little tie-in, you know?
Hey, look at that.
Fascinating, says Spock. No, wait, that was actually Tilly. Shut up, Wesley. Oops, make that shut up, Tilly. But Tilly will not be silenced until she spouts some technobabble to get everyone out of the pull of Lagrange Point. Episode title alert. Whew, that was a close one. One of those deals where, oh my God, imminent danger, imminent death. Oh, we made it out.
That is very much modern Star Trek right there.
Yes.
Oh no, everything's terrible, and no, we made it through. Thank goodness.
It reminds me of a brief digression on Frasier when Bulldog would say, "Hey, where's my wallet? I left it right here. This is total BS. Oh, here it is."
I love it.
So, hey everyone, have a look over there on yonder view screen. There's some kind of big cylinder thing bobbing between the two black holes. Alliteration alert. The first of many, by the way. Bet you that if Disco Nets can perform this box of Cracker Jacks, if you can open that up, they'll find a nifty progenitor tech prize right inside. So, gang, let's take a moment to look in awe and silence as we behold the origin of all life in the universe, not to mention the culmination of this season's merry chase and treasure hunt. It is so awe-inspiring. Surely we can take a minute or two to smell the roses and, dagnabbit, here come the Breen. They pop in right at the worst moment, grab the big tech tube, and beam it aboard the dreadnought. Well,
I'm sorry to jump in, Joe. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Lo was just able to drop by just for a second. Lo, ¿cómo está? See you later. I have to learn. See you later.
Welcome, Lo. Yeah. Glad to hear from you. And yes, we are in a different situation while I'm on the road. Usually I have both things right next to each other so I can see John frantically waving at me, but I'm over here right now, so bear with me.
No, you're doing all the hard work. Believe me. Do it however you need to do it.
But Joe, would you shut up for a second? Let someone else talk.
Oh no. It was just like Lo dropped in, and I was like, "Oh, we're gonna say hello to Lo later," and then she was like, "I got to go back to work," and it was like, "Oh no, bye, Lo, bye."
So glad to hear from Lo.
Yes, lovely.
So as we were saying, the Breen do pop in. They grab the big tech tube and beam it aboard the dreadnought. Well, Disco Gang, I guess we lost out because I don't know. We'll just have to head home, I guess. Hardly. It's actually time to make some big plans, some big silly plans that Star Trek is known for.
Yep.
Using the map that Mikey so stupidly handed over last episode, the Breen team starts trying to open the tech tube, seemingly vaporizing several Breen lackeys in the process.
Oh, well.
Any more volunteers? I think I hear crickets, John.
Breen crickets.
Breen crickets. Now, actually, the Breenies are being sucked into some kind of portal. Maul keeps feeding the portal more Breen, but little does she know, Mikey has the real missing piece of the puzzle, the one she snagged at the space library last episode.
That's right.
So, Disco isn't out of this just yet. They're not out of the running. All we need to do is beam the tech tube over to Disco, and while we're at it, let's kill Superman. Surely we can do those two simple things. How about if we attach a few transport locks to the tech tube? Adira asked, and okay, fine and dandy, but we'll have to get up close and personal to pull that one off. So, okay, gang, here's the wild plan. We're going to sneak a shuttle through the hole in the Breen shields, then beam 2 Disco teams aboard. We'll put on some Breen uniforms and bucket helmets, and we'll fit right in. Now, Reese and Adira, they're going to head up the Alpha team. Yeah. And Mikey and, they're going to go to the Breen bridge to disable shields, okay? Mikey and Book, they comprise Beta team, and they're tasked with attaching the transporter doohickeys to the tech tube. Sounds like a good plan to me. Oh, well, overprotective father figure Stamets looks irked, taking a cue from Vulcan Prez to Rena later on when she gets a little protective of her man. You know what? Adira says, "Chill out, Dad. I'll be fine. I'm a big person now." So now Cobra agrees, reassures Stamets, and seals his sentiment with a kiss. Isn't that nice?
That's very nice. Very
yes.
Sweet.
Now Book tells his away team colleagues that their plan is nutso. Okay, you too, Book. Chill out. So let's fly right to the Dreadnought's tailpipe. Sounds a little invasive, doesn't it? So
I have some thoughts on that. I'll save that for Down and Dirty.
I will remind you, sir. So, things are going according to plan, but oh, great. It's getting pretty hot outside. Oh, wait a minute. We're like 60 seconds from becoming Kentucky Fried Disco Nuts, Tasty but not desirable, so let's not allow that. If we beam over now, we'll materialize within spitting distance of 2 Breen. Well, screw it. Wonder Breen helmets, activate. Universal translators are go. Oh, and while we're at it, let's go ahead and transport over before we become some very crispy critters. What do you say? Now, the landing party are now in full Iron Man mode with that cool Tony Stark look when we look from his POV inside his suit.
Hang on, let me cross that off my notes.
Oh,
yeah, there you go. Okay, yeah. It's so funny because they keep cutting from one Discovery crewmate to the other, and they all have that Tony Stark, what is it? The user interface, the UI, around them.
It's like little lights,
Way to go, Paramount! Nice to steal. Nice to steal from Disney, huh? Paramount, yeah, go for it.
Well, they stole from Disney a long time ago by having Michael Burnham always like land in the pose, So this is not unprecedented as far as the type of theft we're talking about.
Right. Okay, all right. Point well made, as always.
Thank you. So the air crackles as they all materialize right next to 2 troublesome soldiers. Burnham blurs the bothersome Breen. Second alliteration alert.
Man, don't do that when I have a mouthful.
You want to hear it again?
No, I'm good.
But the Breen do back off, their tails between their legs. Alpha team heads to the bridge. Now, some lackey is hovering over the station, reason Adira need to hack. Begone, Breen. He complies. They get to work. Beta team heads to the shuttle bay to get to the tech tube. Time is of the essence. We don't have a moment to spare. But wait, Book. Mikey wants to have a heart-to-heart talk.
I learned something about myself last week, and I was a coward in our relation. Okay, all right, fine.
Is this the only time we can have this conversation? Right there in the Breen corridor with them all, like everyone over. Okay.
Hey, man. Sometimes you just got to talk about the relationship. What can I say?
Sometimes you can't. You got to prioritize things, I suppose. Okay, but you know what? Mikey does remember. Hey, the clock is ticking, so let's save some more heart to heart maybe for a different time. So back at HQ, Rillick and the team decide to send a puny shuttle to distract the incoming Breen armada. A whole bunch of dreadnoughts, apparently, it sounds like. So Tarina offers to draw up a short list of folks who can meet a single little shuttle to distract the incoming Breen.
I love that. I'll get a short list together. Okay.
Yes. Well, Saru tells her not to bother. He'll go. President Rillick says, okie dokie. So Tarina looks a little irked, but everyone's dismissed. Sounds like one of those little private, awkward moments there.
Can I talk to you in the kitchen, please?
So, as expected, privately, Saru reassures Tarina that she shouldn't fret. He'll be fine and dandy. Well, she agrees, actually, reassuring him that she was thinking only of the mission's success, not his safety. So, once again, Saru steps in it with both feet.
Oh, okay. I don't buy that, but okay. Here's the thing that I love about this relationship. She is as emotional as a Vulcan will allow themselves to be, but she never admits it.
Oh, we're on the same page entirely. And yes, for her to claim that I was just thinking logically, or I should put on lady voice. I was just thinking logically. No, you and I agree, John. I'm reading the beats. We don't necessarily agree with what the beats are telling us. Put it that way. All the time.
Yeah. The beats are the beats.
The beats are the beats.
No
but at least this time they patch things up right away. They have that lovey-dovey moment after all.
Yep.
And
nice hug.
Nice hug. And they've been waiting for this, as has the audience, as we all. So on Disco, Raynor is pacing back and forth. He would wear a hole in the carpet if they had any. Unlike Worf, way back in the 24th century, Raynor doesn't find the captain's chair particularly comfy. Rewatch TNG's The Emissary from season 2 if you don't get that joke. Telly tells Raynor, "We're all behind you, Commander, so you can stop acting like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs." Raynor replies, "You're a bright girl, but still that warm and fuzzy BS." Tilly's smile says it all, meaning, F you, Raynor. So over on the behemoth Breen dreadnought, Michael and Book bluff more dim-witted Breen to get into the shuttle bay. This just in the nick of time to see another Breen volunteer to get sucked into the tech tube portal. Now, Book needs to distract yet another Breen guard so Mikey can slap the transport gizmos on the tube. So, what does he do to distract? He gets flirty.
That was very funny.
Come here. You come here often, big boy? Kind of creepy. Oh, no, another bummer. Maul is actually informed of the missing Breen guards who were tasked with guarding the most valuable technology ever created in the history of the universe. Well, maybe those guards went out for a Starbucks, latte or something. But let's not take a chance. Get more guards down there to the shuttle bay, and I mean pronto. Now, Beta Team needs a distraction again. Raynor has a plan. "I can't be bothered with that right now," says Mikey. "Just do what you think is best, Mr. XO." Okay, you asked for it, Mikey. Raynor hails Maul, revealing the disco wasn't blasted to smithereens after all. Its crew is alive and kicking. But Raynor's nose grows a little bit as he lies about Mikey telling Maul that reports of her demise were actually not premature. Raynor warns Maul that Tahal is coming for Ruin's dreadnought. "You need disco to protect you." "Well, let's see," says Maul. "Your ship is about a tenth of the size of mine." "No, thanks, but no thanks. We'll take our chances." So instead, Maul finds Alpha Team, takes their bucket helmets off, and grabs the transporter lock. Oh, no. Michael and Maul trade some smart-ass remarks. Raynor opens his sizable ears and picks up a coded message from Burnham. Nutso Plan B. Fly the disco through the Breen shuttle bay, through the containment field, beam Michael, Book, and the tech tube when they get sucked into space. Wait a minute. Sorry. Correction from Commander Data. Blown into space. Rewatch TNG's The Naked Now if you don't get that joke.
That's so funny.
The new plan, well, it's going to be just easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now, Alpha Team gets the shields dropped. Beta Team and the tech tube get blown into space. But Alpha Team needs to punch their way through out of the situation. And you know what? Reese and Adira, they do a pretty good job, kicking some butt to get out of there. I admired that.
I gotta say this Reese, I admire the cut of his jib.
Yes, absolutely. He needs to be put in charge of that rechristened ISS Enterprise. I still hold out hope for that.
Ooh, that's a great call.
Yeah,
Save that for predictions. We got predictions later.
We got predictions. I'll reiterate that at the end when we get to that section. But not surprisingly, the dim-witted Breen are befuddled, but Maul figures out that the disco nuts, they knows what they're up to. What is a former courier cutie to do? Why, I'll just hop into the portal.
Oh my God.
But first I'm going to give the Lock Corps a little peck on the cheek and send him into temporary oblivion by using a transporter pattern buffer. Hey, it worked for Scotty,
Sure did.
Rewatch TNG's Relics if you don't get that joke also.
you're like a Marvel comic from the late 70s.
Where they have like the little asterisk, and you like look down there to
check out Spider-Man $3.99 to find out what he's talking about. Bashful Barry. Jolly Joe.
That's me. I like that. Jolly Joe.
That's your nickname if you worked in the Marvel bullpen. Jolly Joe Townsend.
I like it.
Hey, Jolly Jack Kirby hated it, so I'm sure he would want you to have
I'll
Jolly.
take it. Okay, so what's happening now? Well, Burnham kind of gets wind of this. She goes, "Oh no, Blondie. You can't get your mitts on the progenitor check. Not on my watch." So after sharing a loving, kind of foretelling possibly. Look
Mm,
with book.
mm.
Mikey too jumps into the portal. Oh boy. Disco zips through the energy barrier. Chaos ensues. The tech tube floats out into space, then seemingly vaporizes, exposing the portal inside.
Yes.
Book has made his way to the bridge instantaneously, having time to change into his cool leather outfit. Somewhere en route. He's just ditch that Breen stuff. It's like way out of fashion, not attractive at all. So he's on the bridge. He tells Rayner that Michael and Maul are now probably duking it out inside the portal itself.
Yeah.
Well, scanners turn up nothing. Tilly shrugs and she says, "Well, guess the Captain's gone bye-bye." Well, Rayner's not ready to give up so easily. The commander gives the crew a pep talk. Failure is not an option. The bridge officers don't seem too sure about this. We have only one episode left, gang. End of season, end of series.
Yeah.
So, after delivering his let's win this one for the Gipper speech, Rayner is now ready to park his butt in the captain's chair. His final words before fading to black: "Let's do this." Utilizing yet another contemporary idiom still in use 1,200 years from now.
Well, the classics always remain. I'm
They
sure
do.
there's plenty of idioms from 1200 years ago that we still say. Forsooth.
Well, like, how is thee today? Oh, okay.
I mean, honestly, we should all be speaking like, ancient French. But hey, no, that's fine. That's fine.
That's
They
okay.
do.
We can that way we can relate to them.
They have their universal translators. Maybe they're just dumbing it down for us,
Oh, good thought, John. Good thought. Well,
21st
listen, I
century.
mean, let's do this. Okay, it's inspiring, though. It works. And you know what? It's almost as good, actually, as Riker's Mr. Worf fire as a prelude to what is obviously going to be a cliffhanger ending. And if you need to I can't imagine you would, but if you don't recognize Mr. Worf fire, go back and rewatch The Best of Both Worlds, Part 1. And what kind more is there to say? To be continued. Actually, no. Scratch that. To be concluded.
I can
Next week.
almost hear Majel Barrett's voice next week going, and now the conclusion of Star Trek Discovery.
They should take it out of the sound bites and use it anyway. That's my feeling.
Somebody had said at some point that they thought that Majel Barrett had who of course plays the voice of the computer in classic Star Treks,
right?
Like the first three. But somebody had said that they got so much of her voice that they should be able to do it through AI. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I wouldn't hate that. She is such a big part of Star Trek. She really exemplifies that stick-to-itiveness of Star Trek too. So I've always had a huge crush on Majel Barrett. I should also throw that out there too.
Oh, well, who didn't? Who doesn't?
I mean, her number one was a great number one. I do want to catch up with some earlier things said. Craig did note that in this episode, no tears. Michael, no tears, Burnham. We do appreciate that. And then he's such a jolly guy. Well, that could be so many different people, but it could be Rayner, because he's not a jolly guy, and that makes it funny. But anyway, it is time for us to get down and dirty. Let's break it on down to little digestible bits that we can just eat like a dog eats its kibble. And
talk about dirty.
This episode, and we've been talking about this a little bit in the last couple of episodes. When they get really action movie on us, pardon me, oh my goodness, in this modern Star Trek, it really moves. There's not as much plot to talk about normally because there's so much oh my gosh, that LaCroix went down rough. there's so much action that there's not as much, blah blah to talk about. But there are some things that are really interesting about this episode. I think in this episode we see Maul, who looked so dangerous, like she was taking over everything in the
Yeah,
Breen, dreadnought. And this is Rule's particular, because he's a Primarch. So this is his particular army, his particular bunch. And she took that over. And I was like, ooh, I hope she doesn't forget Locke. Like, I hope this isn't the story of like, Evita in space, except she's evil. And well, people argue about evil. But anyway, it seems like she really still is in love with Locke. She does put him in the pattern buffer and take him in with her, right? To the magical portal inside the fake TARDIS.
exactly. I like the fake tarts.
That's the thing. I like every time they showed us this tech tube, that the final, the final mystery is hidden inside. I'm just like, it kind of looks like they made their own TARDIS. Like they used Dalek parts to do it, but not supposed to be thinking about Doctor Who while you're watching Star Trek, so makes sense if they didn't want me to say that. We talked about the Iron Man UI, which is
Yes.
hilarious, and honestly, this is a good bunch of actors. Just like with Robert Downey Jr., I really don't mind the camera being that close to their faces because they're good actors, and I enjoy them working.
Well, it's definitely not as disturbing as we had a couple weeks ago now, where they were just literally zooming in on books like one eyeball and his one nostril. And, oh,
That's a very good point. Um, I I liked quite a few things about this episode. I did like the heist.
yes.
Now this is something we see. Are you going to remember this off the top of your head? Because I don't have it. In the holodeck episode on Deep Space Nine, where they're trying to help their buddy Vince, who has a Las Vegas casino.
Yes.
I don't remember what it was called, but they basically put together a heist, and it's very
Yes. I mean,
Ocean's
I definitely
11.
remember the episode. And I'm going to get it wrong. Maybe one of our um, viewers can correct me if I am wrong, but I almost want to say that the episode was called Bada Bing, Bada Boo or something like
I
that.
could have I would have guessed that. I would have guessed that because there was something in my head that was like, isn't it like bada bing or bada bing, bada boom? We can look it up later.
Sure.
Uh, Sadly, anytime I try to look anything up while we're doing the show, I crash my computer. So my 10-year-old computer. So yeah, I'm gonna be going easy on that one right now. But yeah, basically we get that great moment that you get in a heist movie where they tell you how it's supposed to work. And if you've done this a few times, like Mr. Townsend and I have, you as soon as you hear it, you go, oh, that's a good plan. And that's never going to go the way
Nope.
you think it will.
It'll be a very short episode if it did.
But I do appreciate that they set that up and they created that. And it wasn't a bad plan. It was a damn ballsy plan, frankly.
Oh, sure. I mean, at this point, I'm sorry, but after all the questionable tactics of Michael Burnham, they kind of have to go for the gusto here, and you know, just try about anything to get that check, because we already seen what the result is if they don't.
And let me ask you, this is always one of my favorite parts of the show because you are a novelist and a writer of short stories, as well as a great entertainer and a
Thank you,
podcast
sir.
host. But let me ask you how you feel about the pressure that they keep mounting on top of mounting on top of mounting. Now we have Lahan, right? Did I get that name right? Lahane. We have this other Primarch
Oh, right. Sorry. Yes, I
who's
drew a blank there. Yes, we have the other Primarch, the one that's swooping in to take advantage. Obviously, fill that
and
void.
has already said that pretty much this Primarch's ship and soldiers belong to her now. So
Yes.
she's going to come and try to absorb them. Oh, look at this. Craig got it for us. Thank you. Season 7. Oh, yeah. It was the final season of DS9. Episode 15. Bada bing, bada bang.
Bang.
Ah,
Almost. Thank you,
so
Craig.
close. So close. Um, and that's a great episode. And it's all based on a heist. And of course, the heist goes wrong, like every great heist story
Of
goes.
course.
So that's kind of fun. But yeah, I did want to point to the fictional device, the ticking clock,
Yes.
and the mounting pressure. Are you feeling like this is happening in an organic way, and it's closing in on us in a good way, because we do literally have one more episode after this one to settle the entire story of Star Trek Discovery? How you feeling about it, Joe?
Well, I think the story we're getting, I think the pacing is on target. Again, I do question some of the actions of especially our lead character,
Yeah,
because I think that some of the dilemmas we're experiencing now would probably not have been there or as severe otherwise.
interesting.
But as they say, we are where we are,
Mm.
and maybe Michael's feeling a bit of that, and then maybe she's like, I got to dive in that portal too, because we know they're in there. We've seen we saw in the initial previews,
Oh,
Michael and Maul, as I said, duking it out somewhere mysterious. Well, obviously that's where it is.
you had pointed that out like
Yeah,
last week or the week before. I think you even mentioned it then. Yeah, that's a good point. And really Maul is as good an arch rival as they could come up with
sure.
for Michael. She can fight, she can actually fight better than Michael, and Michael can fight better than Michael. We saw 2 episodes ago.
Better than young Michael, or past Michael. Put it that
She,
way.
she was fighting herself in the past, and she's actually picked up a thing or two, and that's great. That makes perfect sense. So
Yes.
there is that, like, big battle. There's that, Black Widow versus Taskmaster from the Black Widow movie. One of my favorite of the Marvel movies. I gotta watch that one again.
Yes.
Uh so yeah, that makes sense. I also here's something I really like about where we are. So we've gotten all this interstellar pressure going. Oh, the ship has to be here. Oh, we have to get to this point before the other ship does. Oh, that ship's way ahead of us. It's going to take us a while. Oh, we used the spore drive, but it got us off course, and now we have to make up for it and go as fast as we can in a damaged ship. Like, there's all this sort of logistical stuff. But
Right.
now we're going to that great Star Trek location, the big white stage nowhere.
Right.
That's what it looks like anyway. And it is so funny to me, because um that's where some end of show uh events happen. Like anything with Q tends to happen in this big white soundstage, this sort of neutral place. We actually saw it with Data and versus Lore
Right.
in the final season of Picard. So it's interesting, and I imagine they're going to go to a place that looks like a jungle, or it looks like a museum or something, some sort of neutral territory. But I think ultimately they're going into some weird white void
Well,
where
I totally agree, because again, we've seen things that now are falling into context because they're almost done.
yeah.
And another quick shot in one of the earliest previews shows presumably Michael doing that little death-defying leap over some kind of canyon or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Another
Yeah.
Black Widow superheroine type of visual,
Yes.
and that was
Yes.
obviously in some kind of weird, empty void type area. So
Interesting. And I think I wrote down Reese twice. I have this fantasy. Now, please indulge me, everyone. I have this fantasy that the character of Reese, and I still haven't looked up the name of the actor who plays him, but he's just pushed. He's just pushed, like, my character needs more to do. He needs to be more important. Come on, man. I know this character inside and out. I can play this. I can do this. and they do keep pushing him forward. I love it. I kind of hope his story doesn't end when Discovery ends, which I guess means I'm kind of hoping he ends up on the Starfleet Academy show.
I think we're seeing a lot of setup for Starfleet Academy. I really
hope
do.
so. I really do.
Just like we saw
Yeah.
a lot of setup for Legacy, which we all want from Picard.
Yes. Oh, yes.
You know.
Yeah, and we really do want that. And you look, as our friends have said, our friend Stevie pointed out that Paramount has been purchased by Sony, which could end up being a great thing, because now that the purchase is over, the shrinking of the Star Trek universe might actually turn into an expansion, because hopefully they want to make some money, and they know these intellectual properties they have so much, incredible potential. I hope.
Well, I mean, a long time ago, I wrote a blog post. It basically said, and I this isn't unique to me. I stole it from Howard Stern, but it said everything should have Spider-Man in it. Well, now maybe we'll have Spider-Man in Star Trek with Sony involved.
Craig Livin has dropped by. He says Star Trek Next Generation, Voyager, and DS9 love their white void, just like Westchester, New York. Well, I've been to Westchester, and I got to say, Craig is not making a joke. He's reporting the facts.
He absolutely is. I mean, it reminded me just now of one of the best TNG episodes, Tapestry, where, of course, Picard, thinking he's dead, meets Q in the afterlife, which is just this big, great big white void.
I can tell you, just a weird, stupid side story. That white curtain that they put around in the background is called a cyc.
Okay.
And they use that phrase on stages. So even like in a musical, if they have a big white curtain, they call it the cyc. But there was a sketch show years ago, and they did end up making, I think it was for WB, and it was called Psych. And it was basically a sketch show that only took place in a white void.
Oh.
I mean, it lasted like 3 episodes. I was, of course, in a sketch and improv group in New York, so I auditioned for it, and they were like, could you act like a big bunny? Like, so what do you guys think you're gonna do? And they're like, we'll probably just have you in a big bunny suit and come out and say like big bunny things. So I'm like improvising big bunny stuff.
Well, I hope you didn't fade into the white background with your bunny suit.
I was pink.
Oh, okay. What a relief.
I was a pink bunny. It was quite impressive. They had a suit that fit me. Not the only time that ever happened either. But whatever. Back to Star Trek. I think we might be ready to talk about what might happen. Well, faded way too fast there. There we go. I predict. Do we have any predictions for the final episode, Mr. Townsell?
Well, I have a few jotted down here. Of course, I want to remind you that you had something you were setting for this category as well. My big prediction is this. The Federation will obtain the progenitor tech, they'll crate it up, and they'll bury it in a huge warehouse, just like the Lost Ark of the Covenant. Actually, I kid, of course. I don't think anyone will secure the tech. That's my real prediction.
Yeah.
I think it's just way too powerful and way too universal, for lack of a better word, for any one power to obtain, despite their altruistic intentions. It's just something that's I mean, if you attain that, you attain the secrets of life in heaven itself. It ain't going to happen, but it will. The journey will conclude with our characters finding themselves in a much better place in terms of their evolution. I mean, we still don't know what's happening with Dr. Culber, do we? That's got to resolve.
Oh my gosh, that's got to resolve. Yeah, and Dr. Culber has looked very much like he's on the edge of something. He's on the edge of some kind of change. So, you never know with a final episode of Star Trek. I don't think I could have predicted any of the final episodes I've ever seen on Star Trek, honestly.
Well, what makes it tough, and I have to take them to their word.
Yeah.
We mentioned this before.
Yeah.
The final episode of this season of Discovery was not intended to be a series finale. The show got subsequently canceled after filming had wrapped. They
Mm,
had to tack on a special ending to make it more of a series finale.
interesting.
So
Interesting.
that's going to be the part that's going to be very interesting. What's going
Yeah.
to happen in that those last scene or two that we're going to that were added later.
I'm going to make a prediction of something I pray will not come true. And I think there's a good argument. Feel free to
Sure.
say, no way, John, that's not going to happen. Feel free, because I hope you're right. I don't want this dream machine, this powerful power of the gods technology. I don't want this to be in Michael Burnham's hands. And I feel like they've teased us with this after she was in, the library of her mind, and she was
Right.
trying to solve how to be worthy, And she was the one who passed. She passed the test that she is worthy. And I don't want her to, basically touch this stuff and then take us back to episode 1 of Star Trek Discovery, where she doesn't screw up.
Well,
That would undo everything. I would hate that.
are you saying that you think, because we are talking about we predict,
Yeah.
are you thinking this might actually happen, you just don't want it to, or just stating you just don't want it to and not really thinking it will?
I don't want it to happen. I suspect somebody in the first writers' meeting might have suggested it, and I'm hoping everybody else in that meeting said, shut up. No, we're not going to do It Was All a Dream.
We don't want that.
Right.
Until we heard about Starfleet Academy and that it would take place
Oh,
in the 32nd century,
no, that's a good point.
I personally was hoping, because I've never been comfortable with being so far in the future.
Yeah, it's weird.
Okay.
It's weird.
I thought, what if they do their stuff in the 32nd century,
Mm.
then somehow get shot back to the 25th? That way we preserve the secrets and they just reappear. And then, of course, their reappearance back in their past
Mm-hmm.
would pretty much obliterate everything that we saw in the 30s. So it would be a partial, it was only a dream, but not entirely. But that's
Right.
not going to happen because we got Starfleet Academy now.
Starfleet. Well, okay. Now I'm going to argue with you a little bit, and we never argue, so this is exciting.
Yeah, pay attention, folks. This is very unique here. Okay.
It's very unique that we would ever argue. I think that they have wanted us to be uncomfortable being so far in the future because they're trying to replicate the feeling that you had when you first started watching Star Trek and you thought, oh my gosh, this is in a future that I can barely imagine. And by watching this show, I'm going to be learning something new every week about this version of the universe that we live in, and that's going to be exciting and interesting and keep me coming back. And I feel like on Discovery, because they start in the 23rd century, and then it kind of appears that they are way too it's too much of a problem that they might mess up canon. They might mess up pre-established history in Star Trek. So they went, you know what? We should probably put them in a part of history that no one's ever seen or heard about before. And that way we can just introduce new stories. Really great stories like The Burn.
We will just not get into season 4, right?
But
and the flip side of my argument here is that I think they should have just started it there in the first place. Do we need Michael Burnham and Spock related that badly? I mean, it gave us Strange New Worlds, but again, we could have had that anyway. So,
Yeah,
but you know what? Again, we are where we are.
Yeah. And, as far as I'm concerned, I like both tips, of the spear. No way to put it. That's a terrible analogy. Like both directions, both forks in the road, if you will. Because I do really like Strange New Worlds, not every episode, but I generally really like the series, and I've generally really liked this series. So it's been cool to me that they had been able to establish those things, that there's a lot of fan service in Strange New Worlds. I hope I hope this isn't their final season coming up on Strange New Worlds. Have they announced that?
Oh, they actually, John, we have heard that they are actually starting production on season 4.
Good. Good. That's definitely a show that deserves to keep going and has a lot of potential. I really enjoy what they're doing with it. Craig says, if we're looking into a white void and Cronenberg sits in his own void, will it morph? Will he morph into a progenitor, bring Locke back, and disappear? I
Wow.
mean, it's
But you
not
know
a
what?
bad idea.
Greg brings up an interesting point, intentional or otherwise. We thank you, Greg, for that great point.
Yeah.
But the void that I think we've seen in previews is very much the cone of silence that that
Yeah.
Cronenberg has appeared in. Maybe is it the same place?
It's so funny because I always just assumed it was the much promised virtual office.
Yes.
We're all supposed to put on our 3D headpieces and then we're all in a big conference room together. Except I'm like a giant bear. Somebody else is like a rabbit and somebody else is, spaceman.
Yes.
And then we've got Craig. Craig Lubin says, agree with Joe. How many secret siblings does Spock really need?
2 and counting.
That's Sarek, man. He got around. All right, let's talk very quickly about MVPs. Who did you really feel acquitted themselves well in this episode? Mr. Townsley, you got an MVP for us?
I do, and the reasoning you're gonna be disappointed in me, I think, because it's kind of a mean little thought I had. But I have to give it to Rayner. And
Rayner's mine. Yeah, go. Yeah.
okay, well, I mean, probably the similar reason. I have 2 reasons. I'll do the real one. I'll do the funny one.
Yeah.
The real one being that, hey, you know what? This guy has seen tremendous evolution.
Yeah.
A tremendous character arc and development.
Yeah.
And we kind of moved our predictions, but it goes hand in hand. I'm still with you, John. I still think there's a possibility he's going to betray them.
I just don't want to be right about this. At this point, he's just so sort of woven into the fabric of the show for me. And the thing is, I can still argue for that because his relationship with this other Primarch was that he was a prisoner, and this Primarch, pretty much used him as a slave and recognized him and his usefulness. And I'm really worried that it's one of those, the old girlfriend comes back into town and then the guy can't resist. I'm really worried about that. I hope I'm wrong because, I liked this Rayner going, look, I'm not the captain of the ship and I'm never going to be the captain of the ship. And then by the end of the episode, he's like, oh, hell, this ship needs a captain. I'm sitting down in this chair and I'm captaining. And, allegedly that's what everybody on the ship wants. They want him to take over when Captain Burnham's not there. So it could be, it could be great. Here's Craig saying Rayner's his MVP as well. Love the thread of him not sitting in the chair. And then right at the end, he means business when he sits down ready for action and literally takes on the responsibility and the presence of the captain. Yeah, it's a great moment. Of course, Reese, I write his name down all the time because, man, he always impresses me. Really want to see something good happen for him as well.
And my silly reason for giving Rayner MVP,
yeah.
And John, you're not going to like me for this, but he told Tilly to shut up. I thought that was so cool.
Damn! So you've gone from shut up Wesley to shut up Tilly.
Exactly.
Damn. Damn.
But it didn't devastate her. She goes,
Oh, I'm telling you, you tell a redhead to shut up, you are opening up Pandora's box, my friends. Star Trek redhead.
That'd be a show. Folks, seems like we may have lost Captain John. I'll just keep on keeping on here. I think he was probably going to take us next to the Townsville's tidbits. And if that's the case, I'll just go ahead and offer a few as John makes his way back to the show. Um, oh, here
What?
we go. I was keeping it
What?
going, John. Keeping
Thank
it
you.
going.
I can't believe it,
I was
Craig.
announcing John when he comes back, we'll probably throw up that Townsville tidbits.
Yeah, let me find it.
Well, I
Because
already announced it. We can just move on if you want.
yeah, move on, because honestly, what happens when I get kicked out of the studio is it erases all of the media that I have loaded up to
Oh
use.
no.
So I got to reload some stuff. So please take us through the tidbits, Mr. Townsell.
Well, I'll just do this here. Townsville tidbits. Okay, got it. That's even worse than my Home on Lagrange singing at the beginning. So, as we established, this is the penultimate episode, that word we love, of the season and the series.
Yes.
Now, as others have pointed out, but it's worth mentioning here, a Lagrange point is a real deal and not just a nifty episode title. The phenomenon is a position in space where two large celestial bodies balance out with the centrifugal force of an orbiting object, creating
Oh,
equilibrium, which I find pretty neat.
that's very neat. Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, a little bit of a gaffe here, actually. Adira is a scientific whiz kid.
Mm-hmm.
We love them, but doesn't she know that kelvins are actually a unit of measurement?
How
In
did
other
she
words,
use it
the
wrong?
Kelvin scale is
Right.
not measured in degrees; they're kelvins.
Oh,
So,
wow.
saying that it's 3,000, it's the Kelvin 3,000 degrees isn't. It's inaccurate. So, sorry, Adira, I had to pick on you for that one.
Damn, that's a huge mistake for them to make. They're usually much better on science than that.
Well, I mean, it's reminiscent, of course, of. Well, we'll get to that in a second. I actually have a better point there.
Mm.
The portable transporter buffer, as mentioned, was it's a more advanced version, obviously, of the methods used by Scotty and Relics, as well as, let's not forget, Dr. Mabenga in Strange New Worlds to keep his daughter alive.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, I forgot all about that use of it.
Now, infiltrating an enemy ship while disguising yourself as the enemy harkens back, of course, way back to TOS in the Enterprise incident, and
Yes.
several times since, obviously.
Yes.
Now, I found this interesting as far as learning more about the Breen as a culture, as a people. They are polyamorous, like the Denobians.
Ah.
Okay. And they relax with oil baths, just like C3PO and R2D2.
Good point. Good point. Hey, we should also share this information from Craig Lubin. There are 5 Lagrange points in the Earth-Moon system alone. So that's
So, like I
pretty
said, very much a real deal, and it wasn't terribly relevant in this episode, except in the first 5 minutes. But hey,
yeah.
it's clever.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you threw the wormhole into Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Wasn't really that important, but you know what? It was a cool concept to try for the first time at that point, and of course, they've mined it since as far as the concept. So, bring on more Lagrange points. We love them.
I have to admit, I'll just throw in, this is the one tidbit that I have, which is when they emerge, from taking their mushroom jump in the very beginning, and they find themselves like, what's going on? It just reminded me so much that they're being sucked into a black hole, basically. And it just reminds me of the opening credits of Lower Decks, where you see the ship being sucked into a black hole, then it kind of disappears, and then it comes shooting out.
I'm sure that was not accidental or coincidental. I think that was we probably did a reverse homage back to Lower Decks.
I don't know. It's just really funny that they have that as a problem, and it is solved pretty quickly, just like it's solved very quickly in the opening credits to Lower Decks. Craig is congratulating you. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Craig. Thank you for confirming.
Yes. Well, that's what makes him chief engineer.
That's right. That's right. Hey, the last tidbit I have, which is a good one, I think. I didn't bother with the numbers. That you can find them elsewhere, but I think it's safe to say that Jonathan Frakes is most likely the most prolific of all Trek directors at this point.
Oh,
he's literally helmed dozens of episodes, and I think including 7 or 8 of Discovery over the past 5 years.
Wow.
And not to mention, of course, the 2 films, etc.
Yeah.
So, hey, what can we say besides Go Riker?
And I knew I recognized his name up on the screen in the beginning, but as I was watching the episode, I didn't remember that I was looking at a Frakes episode. But now that I think about it, watch Frakes episodes, especially the more recent ones. But I think all of them. You can even go all the way back to was it First Contact that he directed?
First Contact, Insurrection. Yes.
Yes. And so he works with the camera really close to the actors' faces.
Oh, yes.
And that's something an actor's director will do. There's a lot of directors out there who are like, no, I'm all about the big shot and I'm always about the big moments and all of that. And as we love to say, the greatest Star Trek special effect is always the acting.
Of course.
The acting
And you know what? I mean,
important.
there is one more tidbit worth mentioning. It's a little bit of a stretch, but we'll run with it.
Sure.
As established, Frakes did direct Insurrection as well
Yeah.
as this episode and many
Yeah.
things in between. And it's interesting that in Insurrection and this week's episode of Discovery, both stories used transporter tags.
Interesting. Yeah.
Not quite the same way, of course, but hey,
yeah,
I like the connection there.
I absolutely like it. And there's nothing to say that the writers aren't thinking that when they're writing the new thing. It's like, oh, hey, I'll always love that from that other episode.
And I do like the advancement of the technology on these things. I mean, we have seen there's been advancement between the 24th and 32nd century. So that's key.
It changes the paradigm a lot to be able to jump ahead in terms of technology. And I actually enjoy the 32nd century because of that.
Yes.
Craig Robinson says, is that drive they mentioned in Federation HQ a new thing where they said one of the ships could help?
Well, I'm drawing a blank. They were referring, of course, to the USS Mitchell.
Yes.
To answer Craig's question, it's relatively new. It was brought up in the first episode of this season as being the direction they decided to go instead of further advancing or developing the Spore drive.
Right. That's the replacement drive. Isn't that interesting? I wonder if that's something they're setting up more for, like Starfleet Academy. We're going to see more of that in the future, because either that or there will be like the cavalry arrives moment with the Mitchell, because it does have this new drive. And it was like the Frontier drive, the Pioneer drive. I can't remember what they were.
We're going to look at it and we're going to say, but yes, Craig, good spotting there. Yes, it's a new concept this season of Discovery.
Yeah. And there had to be something to keep the Spore drive unique. I appreciate that. I don't want every ship to instantly be able to materialize in the future of Star Trek. I would be happy if they're actually taking Star Treks.
Yes.
As opposed
not star zap ins and zap outs.
Exactly. It's like, okay, we're gonna use the genie drive. Boing. We're there.
I think that's the name of it, John, the genie drive.
Genie drive. Hey man, don't let me write any scripts for Star Trek. You're gonna have genies all over the place.
Genie baby.
Dude, there are so many things that not you. I'm trying to hit these buttons and do this thing at the same time. Video file. All right. What can I load? What can I load here? Oh, okay. I could load this.
Oh, yes.
Showtimesoul.com. Yeah, showtimesoul.com.
Do yourself a favor. Stop on by joetownsend.com. Take a look at this magic and horrifying, dark and bizarre world, universe that our own friend Mr. Townsend has created. And we have been talking so much about the future, because this show that we're doing right now is almost done. You can hook you up. Once Star Trek Discovery is done, we're gonna need new shows to do. So keep an eye on this space because we've got some big plans in the future for
We
Joe Chow.
do. I mean, that's not an empty promise or a threat. There are big things coming.
Absolutely. Speaking about the big things coming, we've got to talk again about next week's episode, and that will be Life Itself. An interesting title when we're
Yes.
talking about the godlike powers of the progenitors, which created all of the races and species, most of the
Everything.
ones that we've seen in space. So Life Itself is what we're going to be presented with next time on this show, and that'll be 3 p.m. I really think it's going to happen next week because you're home, I'm home.
Yes, we both had a few issues today, but we made it. And thank you everybody for hanging in there and waiting for us to come on. I don't. We could have been more than a few minutes late but regardless, thank you for waiting for us. We will get there, but we
Yes,
will be there by 3 for sure next time.
yes, absolutely. And tomorrow, we hope that you will join us for a pre-recorded episode.
Yes.
Joe's going to be traveling. So we pre-recorded this baby a few days ago, and it was so much fun, Joe.
Yes.
And we just watched a bunch of clips from shows that basically, the title is Wanderlust, and it's shows that in which the hero is traveling from town to town helping people. And as you can see from this poster with the one-armed Joe, the one-armed man will be featured because we will be kind of building on. I'm going to give away the episode. We're kind of building up to The Fugitive because holy cow. If you haven't seen any of The Fugitive or talked with your friends about it, watch us talk about it because I cannot tell you how interested I am to watch more episodes of that. But there's also some appearances by Kung Fu. We do a little bit with Route 66. But wait till you hear about the Hulk.
How does the Hulk fit into this scenario, John? Well,
The
tune in
Hulk.
tomorrow to see.
Tune in tomorrow and see what the Hulk did to us. And I've got it loaded up anyway, so I might as well just say if you join us tomorrow for Retro Rangers and it's Wanderlust, that'll be fantastic. And then a week from tomorrow, we will be celebrating Pride with our good friend Stevie Arviso in the best titled Pride tribute show I have ever heard. And that was written by Mr. Townsend himself. It takes a village, people.
It does. And thank you, John, for your kind words. And I know that now that we're doing this in chronological order as opposed to preparing, that we have 2 posters in a row where we have multiple Johns and Joes.
Oh, look at
that's
that.
a good thing, isn't it?
That's always a good thing. If you don't think Mr. Townsend's a genius when it comes to making this artwork, you are really missing out on appreciating one of the great artists of the day. And I do want to include this suggestion from Craig Robinson, Battlestar Galactica rewatch. You know what? We'll look into it. Because honestly, I love that idea.
Anything is doable. Anything's on the table because, in a way, we're talking about a series of mini-series for some of these things. Others will be ongoing, of course, but again, we can do as much or as little as appropriate for the topic. On any topic.
Especially when it comes to the recaps and reviews. Right. Because we don't usually, unlike Retro Rangers, on a recap and review show like this one, we just talk about it. We don't really show any pieces of the intellectual property.
Right.
But yeah, when we're showing clips and stuff, it gets a little dicier. But I have to say, huge fan of Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, yes.
Both versions.
Apparently the creators of Star Trek Discovery are as well, because we have Cylon knockoffs this season, and they're called the Breen.
That's a good point. Although I also think of the Breen as being dollar store Mandalorians.
Oh, that's true.
You know me. Everything's got to be a dollar store something or a Dollar General something. But yes,
I buy that for $1.
Craig Lubin says, BSG is a great idea. Did the Cylons actually have a plan? One of my favorite extras off the DVDs of the remake of Battlestar Galactica was, I think, Ronald D. Moore saying, and why did we have to say the Cylons are here and they have a plan? Because we spent years trying to figure out what their plan was. And then when we got to the end of it, if I remember the quote correctly, it was like, we were like, nah, no one will remember. Let's just forget it. We never find out what the plan was. Let's just forget it. But either way, funny show, good shows, and worth looking at. I absolutely agree with that. Hang on, let me find. So we did all our business. We got all our business.
We did our business.
And did our business. Gosh darn it. And now I have to. I have to look up something that was loaded before.
Well, while you're looking for it in the next moment,
Yes.
I'll just say that I believe the Cylon's plan was to find a screwdriver, anything to tighten this so this would stop. That was the plan.
Okay. All right. Let me.
Okay, I need to extend that joke down. Let me.
No, I appreciate it. Totally appreciate it. What the dickens have I done here? I'm gonna have to go. Oh man. All right. I think this is. Thank God I found the right one.
Whoa! Because we can't leave without this.
Absolutely not. Folks, so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Come on, let me just wanted to turn it down just a little. One more episode of Disco Nights. And your boys here are going to be with you next week. And then we're going to get Flobo to promise to do a sum up episode with us. And we hope you'll be with us for that. We'll have more information because Flobo is
absolutely. But I will say on the heels of that Flobo started all of this madness. So we definitely want him on board, if at all possible, to wrap it up.
Yeah, we never would have been doing this had it not been for Flobo and Discovery. And Craig, that is so perfect. So perfect. Okay, wait, my favorite one's coming up. Look at this dude right here and the rumpus and the heels. Hang on. What the jumping? And then they've got like these freaky faces and stuff. AI is an ugly thing when you look at it.
Well, this poor guy's got a little bit of a contortion issue, unfortunately.
There's a whole lot of contorting going on, but hey, if I'm not calling attention to it, it doesn't bother people, so I should really stop calling attention to it. That'll do it for us this week. We hope you'll join us 3 p.m. on the West Coast, and of course 7 p.m. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. on the East Coast. And I think midnight, the stroke of midnight in the UK, where Craig is. God bless you, Craig, for joining us. We appreciate it so much. And that'll do it. I might actually hit that video again. Yeah. Wait a minute. It doesn't want me to. There we go. Okay. Thanks very much, everybody. Joe Townsend, thank you so much for all the work you've done on this.
John Weber, same back at you, my friend, and we'll be back next time. And join us tomorrow for Wanderlust on Retro Rangers.
Oh, yeah. Pre-recorded episode, but we would love for you to be there. And I can't make any promises that I'll be on to do the comments, because I'm pretty sure the missus wants me to hang out with her. So, and I got a marriage to save, people. Let's do that.
It's got our priorities straight here, John.
Hey, everybody. God bless.
God bless.
And we will see you. Bye now.